Guys, today I need to share with you one simple truth. Do not buy property in your personal name. And this is not, I'm not going to base it on anything scientific. I'm not going to base it on any advice or tax advice or anything like that anybody might ever give you. I'm just going to share with you my personal experience of what happened to me when I did that, right? And the consequences that I now have to live with because I went and I bought a whole bunch of property in my personal name. Now you might say, but Rita, that's very stupid. Yes, it is. And I didn't know better. I was just starting out, and this is from not knowing, not understanding. And way back when I started in property, it sounds like way back is like 20 years, but no, it's just like 4 or 5 years ago, there were no YouTube videos like these ones where people would tell you and share their experiences on what happens when you do this, right? So I had to unfortunately learn in my own very hard, difficult way, and that is why I decided to do this video today, to just share with you all of that has happened with me so that you can avoid it as well. Right, so what happened? When I started off in property, I was employed for 20 years at a company. I was a senior manager in the company. I was earning some good money. I had a very good credit record, right? Because I paid all my bills. I had credit cards that was always paid up. I had clothing accounts that were in good standing. So I had a fantastic credit record. In fact, my credit record was so good that when I went to the bank and I found through whatever process is not the topic for today, I found a few properties that I wanted to invest in. So I went to the bank and I said, listen, here's a property, I want to invest in this property. And they said, okay, cool, we'll give you some money. I then went and I took a second property to the bank and I said, here's another property, will you give me some money? And they said, yes, you have such a good credit record, we'll give you some more money. And so it went on, and I ended up buying about 5 properties, okay, in that period of time. And then they all went and they registered in my name, and there I am, and it's fantastic, and I'm earning rental income, I'm building, I'm doing all of the stuff that I thought was fantastic. Then I now became a bit more experienced in all of this, because the other reason I thought it would be okay to do it in my personal name was because I thought I was going to renovate and sell, or build and sell, which was the other one that I did. You can see the picture over there. And, you know, that's what I thought I was going to do. So it was only going to be a short period of time and I would have sold, and yes, there's some capital gains, whatever, a tax that I would need to pay, but at least, you know, it's an in and out situation. Then life happened. And in life happening, I couldn't sell these properties. It just the town planning processes. So the one was a development, the other one was a subdivision where I had 2 houses and I split the one in the back. I turned a double garage into a second house, and that required some plans to be done, some subdivisions and consent and for a second dwelling and all of that stuff that had to happen. On the other property, I was building 4 new houses, and that was a sectional title development, right? Which came with a whole lot of extra compliance that I didn't know about at all at that point in time in my life. So I thought, okay, you know, I'm going to build, I'm going to sell, I'm going to subdivide and sell those 2 houses, make a lot of money and move on. Turns out I couldn't. I had to now go through the process. At least I could place tenants into these properties so I could get some kind of income. But my problem was I couldn't sell because I had to go through all of this compliance first for the municipality. So I ended up with properties, with income, and even though I was using that income to continuously improve and build and whatever, because there was a lot to be done on these properties, I wasn't actually taking that income and using it for myself to go buy a Ferrari or anything like that. I had to pay tax, and because I was in a formal employment, I had to pay tax on that income of max, what's it now these days, 45%. I had to pay 45% of that income to tax. And I'm like, no, this is crazy. And I could subtract some kind of expenses and so on from this, but because a lot of it was done cash, I couldn't subtract a lot of my interest. And there's another video that you guys can go and watch on everything that can be deducted from your taxes. But I still had to pay a whole lot of tax through this whole process. So I was like, no, this is crazy. I need to get these properties off my name. Now, what do you do if you have a bond on a property that you want to get into a company? So maybe let me touch on quickly, how does it work when you buy in a company? When you buy in a company and that company is brand new, it doesn't have financial statements, it has no income or anything like that, you still have to sign surety for that bond, which means that the university, the bank, will actually go and they will check, can you afford it, right? But now, when I went through that process, the bank looked at me and my credit record and they said, great, you're still paying everything, but you are now what they call overextended. So they can't give me any more finance. And I'm like, but I'm selling this property, then surely selling to myself on the other side, but you know, I'm just changing the fact that I'm still paying for it, but just in a different entity. And they refused. They said, sorry, we're not going to give you this bond. So I was pretty much stuck with these properties, and I'm still executing the strategy of selling these units, but it's just taking forever. And in the meantime, sorry for you, the bank says you can't get a bond. But now, here's the good thing. For me, luckily, there's always a silver lining around anything that happens. It was actually a blessing in disguise, and I don't have the anxiety of getting this off my name anymore, because number one, I've learned a lot more about how to actually do the deductions better and all of that, so I don't have that stress anymore. However, the other thing is as well is that in this process, it forced me to find alternatives to your normal banks, the big five that we all know, the blue bank, the red bank, the black and white bank, all of those ones, right? And it taught me that there are other banks out there that will still finance you, or they will finance the property instead of, and look at the affordability of the property instead of at you as an individual. I also learned additional strategies like installment sale agreements, where the sellers, the bank, I just pay a deposit, I build up a financial statement for the company, and when that is done, then I go to the bank and they look at the company's details and financials, etc., etc. I don't have to sign personal surety, and the property can transfer and you can get a bond like that. So that forced me to get myself into those type of strategies, which I am eternally grateful for, because at some point, no matter who you are and how much you earn and whatever, you're going to run out of affordability. And that is where you need to get into the next level of working with those alternative funding strategies. So yeah, don't do it. I think that's all I want to say, is just don't do it. Even if you think you're going to flip, right? You might think, I'm just going to do a quick flip. You never know what's going to happen. You know, luckily I was going to flip, but my rentals were fantastic as well. So I made sure that it will work on both sides. But what happens if you want to flip and you can't, and now you're stuck with this negative rental and you have to pay in? Number one, it's going to suck. Number two, you don't know how long you're going to sit with these things in your personal name, and that comes with a whole host of extra taxes and things that you might not be prepared for. So rather just buy in a company, buy in a trust. There's a video that talks about specifically should you do this, that. I'll put it up here somewhere for you guys so you can go watch that one as well. But this has been my personal experience on buying in my personal name. So will I ever do it again? Hell no, definitely not.